Alan Andrews, a lawyer for Client Earth. This European Court of Justice ruling, what do you make of it when it comes to air pollution? The court seem to be saying that the UK must meet its obligations.
I think the first thing to say is this is a big win. This is a huge historic victory, not just for Client Earth, but for everyone in the UK who has to breathe pretty filthy air pollution day in, day out. I think what it means is that the UK is now going to have to come up with a plan to get diesel pollution off our streets as soon as possible. Under current plans, they won't achieve legal limits until after 2030 in some cities.
And is it really diesel that's the main problem, the main cause of this? It's nitrogen dioxide, this particular pollutant that seems to be particularly difficult for the government to deal with. Is it down to diesel or the other factors as well?
In the case of nitrogen dioxide, it is overwhelmingly diesel exhausts. Somewhere between 70 and 80% of the NO2 on some of our most polluted roads comes from diesel engines. So the government must act now, urgently, to get diesel vehicles out of our towns and cities.
I mean, these limits were meant to have come into force in 2010 originally. So what do you make of the fact that the government's now talking about 2020, 2025 in the case of London, even beyond that for some of our cities around the UK before they meet these legal limits?
Well, the court's ruling says that plans must achieve these limits as soon as possible. So it's pretty clear from that the current plans are illegal. They won't achieve compliance until after 2030. There's no way that that's going to be acceptable to any court. So we're going to have to see some action pretty soon.
What kind of action would you like to see? You mentioned taking diesel cars off the road, but what would be your advice if councils up and down the country were to come to you and ask what should they do? What would be your advice of the kind of measures that they could now put in place?
Well, I've got some sympathy for local authorities. There is a limited amount that they can do. What this needs is national government action. That's why we brought our case against the national government. What we need is a national system of low emission zones, a bit like the one that is being proposed for London. But if it's good enough for London, it's good enough for other cities in the UK. This is a national problem and it needs a national solution. Low emission zones would keep the more polluting diesel vehicles out of our towns and cities where they do harm, where they're causing all the health problems.